A very warm welcome to one and all for this webinar on symbolism in homeopathic practice. I am Dr. Rajiv Paris, Assistant Professor in the Organon of Medicine from Arihant Homeopathic Medical College, Gujarat. This webinar is dedicated to my Organon teacher, Dr. Francisco Xavier Fernandez, who is a professor and the head of department in the Organon of Medicine at Shri Kamakshi Devi Homeopathic Medical College. The reason for dedicating this webinar to my Organon teacher is because he is the person who introduced me to the concept of symbolism. And sir is a very eminent teacher from Shri Kamakshi Devi with the largest number of homeopathic OPD, and he is also the winner of the Dhanvantri Award for the best practitioner in Goa in the year 2008. So I thank sir for introducing me to this concept of symbolism, which I was able to verify in the homeopathic practice. And sir intends to write a book also on symbolism in the coming years. I wish him all the best. So the first case, I have laid the objective as understanding the child from the mother. How old is the child? So in February of 2022, a 20-year-old engineer who is studying in the second year was brought to me by his sister. And the sister told me that he is highly introverted, and when the boy came for the consultation, he was insisting, why am I being taken to the doctor? So as a physician, I was already warned by the sister that he is not going to reveal anything. When I saw the patient, there was a nervousness on his face, as if when somebody is caught while doing a crime. When I asked him what is his problem, then the patient began narrating that he feels that he cannot learn. He feels that he cannot write during exams. He finds it very difficult to complete his paper. So basically, his memory does not support him before the exams. He has already skipped examinations on 3 occasions. Then I began to ask him when did it all first start. He said that it began when he was preparing for his 12th standard examination, board examination. So while writing, he would forget and that would anger him. Somehow he developed a fear of exams thereafter. So main is the fear of failing. See, failing is bad, I agree. But when fear is mixed with failing, that adds spice. So somehow this boy uh, developed a fear of examination, although nobody was pressurizing him at home to get a high score. So this problem of fear of examination has been present for the last 1.5 years from the time he has joined engineering course, and in the last 6 months it has increased. The sister informed me that he misses his mother a lot because now he has to stay in the engineering hostel, and he has lost 20 kilos because he was quite overweight, 100 plus. Now he has lost 20 kilos after begun staying in the hostel. Food preferences wise, he desires for sweets that are milk based. He's fond of eggs. Spicy, he likes a little bit. In the mouth, there were caries in the two, and he's undergoing root canal treatment. Aversion to brinjal, which is a vegetable, He was thirsty for cold as well as warm drinks, stool, more tendency for the constipation and acidity, and refreshing sleep. Sweat. He has cold sweat on the hands, especially on the palms when he is stressed, and on the upper surface of the body when he lies down at night. Thermally, he was a chilly patient. Now, his past history, the sister informed me that when he was born, he was critical for the first 48 hours, and the pediatricians were not sure whether he would survive or not. Then, when he was 12 years of age, his voice stopped coming. A lot of treatments were done, speech therapy was done, homeopathy was done, and then finally his voice was restored. Now, if you try to understand his life space, so he says that he rarely gets angry. He can't yell back. When he's upset, he goes silent. He doesn't know what to speak. He's afraid of hurting others' feelings. He avoids and dislikes conflicts. So mostly he lets go. Fear of seeing the fights. Sister said that he cannot take a stand. Now, the main goal of his life is to have a good job, is which will give his family a reputation for a lifetime. His other dream is to have a big house, good wealth, and a nice car. He wants to be happy and to think positive. But these worries about examinations and depression, they are creating hurdles in his life. So he admitted that he lacks in confidence. Then the sister told me one interesting fact that when their mother conceived him, the grandmother had made two attempts to get him aborted since the first child was very small and it would be too much of work to look after two kids. A third attempt was done by the mother-in-law, sent her son along with the mother to the doctor in order to have an abortion, but this time the doctor did not listen. So the mother wanted to keep this boy, but she could not have a say before the mother-in-law. She could not take a stand. She had to stay mum. Then I asked the sister, how do you describe your brother? She said, he's not stubborn, he's quite flexible most of the time. He never asks for anything. He never lets anybody in the family know if he's sad. But somehow, as a sister, I can understand and I try to console him without making him realize that she is consoling him. She also told me that he likes being hugged and he is able to weep. So, two things were very clear in this case. One was the rubric, lack of confidence, and the fear of examinations. So that brings us to this group of remedies which lie before us. So before we go into the differential, I went into the anamnesis of the case, which helped me to zero down to two drugs, pulsatilla and calcarea carb. So in the anamnesis of the case, see, how to differentiate between pulsatilla? Pulsatilla was eliminated because there is he has tendency for constipation, whereas pulsatilla has tendency for diarrhea. Second reason, when his sister takes him to the mall for shopping, he is able to decide what he wants. See, he is having hesitation in putting up the things, but he is not indecisive. So he is not pulsatilla. Now, the anamnesis of the case. See, Calcarea hides inside the shell and no one knows who is inside and what he goes through. Calcaria is weak willed and has negative thoughts. I cannot learn, I cannot complete, I cannot write, because Calcaria is the forgetful types. Now they are silent because Calcaria is leucophlegmatic. They are the slow processors, basically having timid disposition and having examination funk. And they love milk-based sweets. Earlier he was heavy-weighted, and now he wants to build a house, a new house. The body is also another house in which has become now thin from the earlier big. Hence, he wants to have another new house. Big is comfortable, where the Calcaria can accommodate everybody and live happily inside the protected shell. Mainly, he is the family's support system, but he is having no independence from the shell. And who is the shell? The mother is the shell. Try to understand now retrospectively in intrauterine life. He was wanted as well as unwanted at the same time. And this led to a state of confusion at the time of birth, whether the baby will survive or not. Then, at the age of 12 years, loss of voice. This is symbolic, as his mother could not have a say over the mother in law. She stayed quiet. Now, the patient stays quiet in the face of conflict, in the face of anger. He's repressing his feelings, which is an element of psychotic miasm. Voice is identity. And here, at the age of 12, there was lack. And even in this patient, even now, he is not able to put himself up. So there is a deficiency, which is a lack, which is Sora. And hence, I decided to prescribe him our finest antisoric remedy, Calcaria Carb 1M, one single dose. Now, let us see the follow-up. So, on the first follow-up was done 2 months later. A prescription was released in February, and on 4th of April, he seemed to be more confident. The photos on the Instagram showed a glow on his face, and there was an appearance of maturity. The sister also, who lives in another hostel as she is also pursuing her professional course, told me that now he is calling her more often and they are having a better communication than before. Earlier, he would not be calling her, then they would be fighting and all that chaos. Also, the sister had an apprehension that his personality development is getting hampered. Now, after 2 months, she is freed from this apprehension and this worry about her brother. So no medicine was given in 4th of April. Wait and watch. Then the next follow-up was on 23rd of July. Now at this time, it was known that in August his exams will be there, and he is preparing for his examinations. And his sister, he had come home for this Raksha Bandhan festival, where his sister observed that his retention of memory has also improved as compared to earlier. So no medicine was given. Then the third follow-up was taken on 11th of September. Now, by now, he has gone for all his papers. Earlier, he had skipped 3 examination papers. This time, he felt better than before. In terms of nervousness, which was lesser, he was able to write his papers and complete the papers. And although the results are not out, he is sure of getting better marks. So no more medicine was given. Before we go to the learning of this case, I'd like to share with you a little bit of differential. So here we are having so many remedies, especially as far as this rubric lack of confidence is concerned. See, lack of confidence, even anacardium is having. But the lack of confidence is unbelievably out of proportion in anacardium. Anacardium is not always cruel. They can appear very soft and sweet like Staphysagria. And the state of lack of confidence comes after a conflict in anacardium. The conflict may be with the superior who puts them down and says to them that you are not good. And after this, they totally believe this, that they are not good and that they are not able to do anything. And this becomes exaggerated to the extent that they refuse responsibility, they refuse promotion. So also in anacardium, there is a peculiar obstinacy which makes them to stay until the conflict becomes so great that the personality itself splits. Now, that was not the case in our patient. Okay, so anacardium was eliminated. Second remedy, which is also having a lot of lack of confidence, is natrum. So natrum has a sense of lack of confidence, and that's why they stay in the background. They are not making contact easily. They are always the last one to talk. But they say something correct and then they feel they have, so they say something correct and they feel they have confidence of others. So what they basically crave for is the trust from the others. It is more a matter of appearance for them, because underneath they feel that others need to trust them. It is quite similar to Mercury, who will even stammer at the beginning, but they will talk easily once they have made a connect with the others. So that, such is the lack of confidence of natrum. Then you have the third remedy, Lycopodium. Now, Lycopodium feels incompetent in the face to face a group of people. He will even produce physical symptoms like bloatedness, ulcers, etc. He wants to be on top. And his lack of self confidence comes when he feels that people don't see him as a great man. Bloated ego, full of big words, full of air. The child also is nice and sweet at school, but the little dictator at home. They feel secure at home, but they act subordinately at school and at work. Then we have also Silesia. Silesia, the lack of confidence develops after becoming overtired. They feel that the mental faculties have been reduced suddenly after so much of exertion, and they come to give a lecture trembling because Silesia is having hesitation and lack of the initiative power. So this way we can have a differential of all the remedies which are having lack of confidence. So I have done the follow-ups for you. Now, what was the learning of this case? This case is highlighting to us the importance of the gestational period on an individual for his life. See, homeopaths who are in practice can attest to the fact that this is a psychological infection. Frequently, we see in practice examples of challenged children whose mother suffered from an emotional stress, like being forsaken, like feeling grief during the pregnancy, or experiencing a moment of deception during pregnancy, or hearing bad news. So, all these are having an impact on the unborn child, and they can get imbibed into the individual, and these type of damages may last in the lifetime of the child. So it is important to probe how was your pregnancy. And most of the women say everything was okay unless there was some serious accident, or there was a blatant trauma, or they have been very severely depressed. They will, or unless there has been, a very prolonged nausea during pregnancy, or a threatened miscarriage, or a bleeding, or a malposition of the fetus, they will say everything was okay. So for the homeopaths, who will just take this answer at the face value, that everything is just fine, such homeopaths are going to miss one of the most important pieces of the child simillimum, that is the never well since or the trigger event. If a homeopath wants to find the simillimum, he needs to go to the place of the trauma. Any good crime detective will go to the scene of the crime to find out what is unusual, what is peculiar, what is outstanding, and such is the conduction of the aphorism 153 investigation. Then we also need to understand whether the pregnancy was a planned one or a sudden appearance, and what was the first reaction of the couple. Sometimes the couple, the mother, the expecting mother can be sad because her parents are no longer alive. So she thinks that if my parents were alive, then they would be able to, enjoy being grandparents. So she remains sad. Or sometimes the partner may say, oh no, not right now. Means we are not ready to have a child. So this type of a reaction, uh, it means outright rejection. Or maybe for the mother, she might, respond to her pregnancy saying that my pregnancy was the reason that my career never got off the ground. So if this also means, they are rejecting the child, and it's going to have an impact on the child and on the future of his personality. Sometimes, the parents also of the girl can act indifferent. Like the parents may say, everything is in God's hands now, and there is no need for us to come to help you out. So here also the mother feels the indifference from the parents, and that can get transferred to the child, that the child may become indifferent in his lifetime to the people around him. Sometimes it also so happens that these ultrasonography doctors, they give a false alarm of an investigation where they may say the child is having spina bifida, and this type of information may be very horrifying and putting the mother into a hysterical crying non-stop. Later on, they may, on the further investigation, they may find that everything is okay. But until then, the harm is already done. Sometimes it may also happen that the husband is not right, that the mother who is expecting is unmarried. So she might have to abort the child, and that this abortion, the act of abortion, may have a come in conflict with the religious belief. And all this is, being coded in the child, because the foundation of the child's temperament and behavior is laid down in the intrauterine life. Sometimes there's also a conflict that the mother wants, desires to have a girl, and the who comes out is a boy. So, it will create a mistuned constitution. And the homeopath must remember that pregnancy is a period where the miasmatic state wakes up. For example, psychotic miasm dominance might mean that an early miscarriage or a possibility of resurgence of jealousy and suspicion. Pregnancy puts a woman in a very receptive and in a very sensitive state. So the traumas, they are always felt more strongly. So how a patient reacts to bad news will also tell you about the possible remedy as well as the active miasmatic state of the mother as well as the fetus. For example, if the mother could not, move after hearing bad news, she felt paralyzed, then we have to think of gelsemium. If after hearing bad news, she sobbed all day long, then we have to think of ignatia. Or after hearing bad news, the mother was felt totally apart, became completely indecisive and obsessed with minor details, then we have to think of silesia. Or after hearing bad news, the mother felt the need to close herself up at home and then phone some important friends, then we have to think of calcarea cow. So likewise, this type of investigation has to be done by every homeopath and can compares a primi gravida, that is the first time pregnant patient, to be like a nervous racehorse, because she is full of expectation, she is full of fear, of anticipation, and at such moments aconite may come as a remedy which may be often needed for such type of fearful and expectant mother. Or uh, the mother thinks of all the negative things, what if this happens, what if that happens, and cannot have her husband away from her, then she might also go into argentum nitricum state. So such is the importance of gestational period on an individual for his life. Now I share with you a second case. So the objective of my second case is to understand the psychology of the patient, and that helps us in treating the sick. So this was a 18-year-old boy who presented in the June of 2018 with complaints of uh, loss of hair in patches on the right side of the occiput. Okay, and this is happening since the last 3 months. There are two big patches, 6.5 centimeters into 2.5 centimeters and 2.5 centimeters into 3 centimeters. So the hair would come out when he's washing his hair or when he's applying oil to the hair. And he was feeling sensation of heat in these patches. So he used to wear a cap in order to hide his baldness. He also complained of having some wart on the left thigh and on the left eyelid since last 1 year. The wart on the eyelid was the first to appear. He seems to be busy, yet he would not accomplish anything. He would spend much time in thinking about his future. He was in the 12th standard, but he was undecided about what he should do further. For the last 1 year, he has been going in his room and simply laughing loudly. He strongly felt that he has been neglecting his duties in terms of his studies, as a result of which nobody in his neighborhood will care for him. This is his thinking process. After he answered his class 10, which is a very important exam, his father insulted him a lot, and this shook his confidence. That's when he began to feel that he is a shame for his parents, and it would be nice if he were not born. He feels no longer wanted by his family. He has two younger brothers, and these two younger brothers, they receive a lot of applause from the neighbors and the other family members. So he feels like escaping from everybody. He cannot control his anger, just shouts very loudly at his smaller brothers, even at the parents sometimes. He's afraid of killing somebody in anger. When he's riding the motorbike, he is riding extremely rash, in a rash manner, because he doesn't mind getting destroyed in an accident. He cannot trust people out of fear of being betrayed, even though nobody has really betrayed him in the past. He is afraid of being alone, yet he does not prefer to have company. So you see his state of confusion. He fears of losing loved ones. He is very fond of his mother. He gets frightful dreams of witnessing an ISIS terrorist attack in which he has to act very fast or else everything will be destroyed. Now, this dream is a warning dream which is telling the homeopath that the patient is in a very crisis state, and the homeopath has to act swiftly in order to save the patient before the complete destruction happens. So I have used Kent repertory for this case and consulted these three rubrics: delusion, neglected his duty, escape attempts to, and laughing loudly. Laughing loudly is a behavioral attribute. Now coming to the anamnesis of this case. If you see all these three rubrics, they all point out to one remedy. But let us try to understand the anamnesis of this case. What is there in this case? Loss of hair in spots, alopecia areata, which is an autoimmune disease, which is a syphilitic expression. Why do we see an increasing number of autoimmune disorders in young people nowadays? See, autoimmune disorder is forming antibodies against one own tissues. In other words, it's a form of self mutilation. In this case, the experience of embarrassment, which was done by the father because of the child's not up to the mark performance in class 10, resulted into grief and humiliation, which stuck like a worm in his mind. Similarly, now the body produced an embarrassing lesion on the scalp, which is an outward symbolic expression of his inner state. This external lesion was the only relief for the deep rooted, overwhelming emotional pain. So, the body mirrors the state of mind, and only the proper homeopathic remedy will result into a gentle cure. Even if you look at the level of the mind, there seemed to be a temporary imitation of insanity, and anytime he may cross the line from neurosis to psychosis. So, Hyoscyamus has got violent rage, in which the mildest and gentlest of the beings become highly irascible and subject to fits of uncontrollable anger. Uncontrollable anger. I want to kill something. They jump to the conclusion during the moment of anger. In Hyoscyamus, you will also find confusion of mind. You will find foolish laughter and the fixed idea that they have done wrong. So, Hyoscyamus 200, one single dose was administered on the 3rd of June. Now, why stramonium was not given? See, stramonium was not given because stramonium, our patient is better alone, whereas stramonium is better when he is in society. Our patient was apathetic, whereas stramonium is more sensitive, more fearful rather than apathetic. Stramonium has laughter alternating with crying and sadness, with fear of going crazy. That is not the case with our patient. Stramonium has got aversion to answer, whereas our patient was outspoken. Hyoscyamus has got this fear of being sold, betrayed, whereas stramonium has got other fears: fear of being alone, fear of darkness, fear of twilight, fear of water, fear of being injured, fear of anything black. That is stramonium. So, and also in Hyoscyamus, The problems of Alzheimer's will begin from being forsaken. And in this patient, we have seen that event where his father reprimanded him to such an extent that he is good for nothing. And from that time, he is feeling forsaken. So problems of Alzheimer's begin from being forsaken. So I hope the prescription is clear. Now we see the follow-up. So first follow-up was done in the month of July 2018. See, the hair began to regrow from the center, and now he doesn't have to wear a cap. His dreams, he gets happy dreams now. There has not been a single episode of uncontrollable anger. He is now kind to his younger brothers. He helps his younger brothers. What which was there on the leg, on the eyelid left side, remain unchanged. And now he is not over speeding on the road. So thankfully, the neighbors are also safe due to this prescription. So no medicine was given. Then on 10th of January 2019, after many months, he came for the follow-up. And now he is doing fairly well. He says that he's got pimples on the face, lot of blackheads on the nose, and sweating a lot on the face and on the back. He is pursuing his further studies, no episode of violent anger, confidence was good. So at this time, he was explained that pimples are a normal phenomena during teenage and he should not be doing anything against it, and no medicine was given. So in problems, we have faced with two possibilities: either you run away or you stay there, you work the problem out and you become stronger. So it is important to realize that symptoms appear to show us something. They don't come to disturb us, but they give us a signal to learn from. And that is why Dr. Kent was absolutely correct when he said there are no diseases, there are only sick humans. So the learning from this case is symptoms then are a sign or signal of something else. And on top of the symptom, there is something you have, the most important, and that is the patient itself. One is the body, which is visible, the thing that you know already. Then you see what the human is reflecting back to you, and that is the reality. Try to know the whole human. And this was the learning from this case. I am open to your suggestions and queries. I would like to thank Dr. Manish Jain, the director of Homeopathy 360. I would like to thank my principal for giving me the permission to present this webinar before you. And I would like to thank each one of you, the audience, for being patient and listening to this webinar on symbolism in homeopathic practice. If you have any queries or you want to give me suggestions for improvement, I am open. Here are my details. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.